Such a gorgeous day today, guys. Here it's in the 60s right now. Beautiful fall day. Just wanted to show you guys the cows over here in my neck of the woods. And this cow is absolutely massive. Look at this beautiful fall foliage, guys, here in upstate New York. Everything's turning orange and yellow and red. It's a beautiful time. Beautiful time to be in upstate New York and in the Northeast. Look at all these colors everywhere, guys. Absolutely beautiful. Look at this. What's going on, guys? It's NYPrepper here. I wanted to talk to you guys tonight about the underestimated threat from EMP and nuclear war. And I think that a lot of people are so heavily focused right now on the pandemic and on the economy and on the elections and civil war, civil unrest, you know, all that stuff. I think people are hyper focusing too much on the pandemic, the civil war thing, and the rioting and all these other things, the election. I think all these things are a big distraction for what's really going to be the big threat, which is a EMP and a nuclear war. In my opinion, those two things are coming down the road. You know, I think it's a high likelihood that we may get hit with an EMP, and I think a lot of people are underestimating that threat, you know. So I'm urging you guys tonight to, you know, really look into your preps to make sure that you're prepared for a possible long-term grid down situation from an EMP or a long-term SHTF situation from a nuclear war. And if you guys notice, a lot of my last couple of videos have really been heavily focused on nuclear war and stuff like that, because I feel that a lot of preppers don't really talk too much about nuclear war because people think it's kind of like a far-fetched type thing. And I think even one of my subscribers said that it was like a sci-fi or science fiction. There's nothing science fiction about nuclear war, okay? Just like the pandemic took everybody by surprise, and just like 9/11 took everybody by surprise, I think when we get hit with an EMP and we get hit with nuclear bombs from Russia and China, I think that's gonna also catch people by surprise, you know? Because we as Americans, you know, we've had things so good for so long, and we live in this bubble, you know. We think that nothing is going to ever happen to us. And, you know, that's why people are so unprepared these days. You know, people are so lazy. Never mind, you know, even just eating healthy and working out. But people are so lazy. They don't care to prepare themselves for, you know, the future and possible hard times, you know. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we've had things so good for so long, and people just can't fathom the idea of the power grid going down for 6 months or a year. People think that that's such a foreign concept to them. You know, they think that it could never happen here in America. And it's that same attitude that people had before 9/11, you know. People had that same attitude. They thought that nothing could ever happen. You know, same thing with the pandemic. I remember in the beginning stages of the virus, when there was word coming out of China that they were locking down entire cities. I remember I did videos on it, and people in the comments in my videos would tell me that, you know, yeah, that's never going to happen here. That's because of the dirtbag China, and people in China are dirty and they eat bats, you know, and that virus is never going to come here. And look where we are, guys. We're in a global shutdown, okay? We're shut down globally, so because of this virus, you know, and you know, so you know, just because something seems kind of far-fetched doesn't mean that it can't happen. You know, there's a lot of negative people on YouTube that will always post comments on my videos anytime I talk about EMP or nuclear war. There's always people that are going to put their 2 cents in and say that, you know, it's far-fetched and it's a sci-fi scenario that could never happen here. And just like the pandemic could never happen, and look where we are. All right, just like 9/11. All right, look at 9/11. You know, just because something never happened before doesn't mean that it can't happen in the future. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what your background is. I don't care if you're a 4-star general and you've spent your whole life in the military and you're going to tell me that there's no nuclear war coming or there's no EMP coming. I don't care what you say. You know why? Because you're not God and nobody knows the future. I don't care who you are. Nobody knows the future, okay? Only God himself knows the future. So if there's anybody out there that tells you that an EMP is not likely and nuclear war is not likely, you know, you can tell those people where to shove it, you know? Because they don't know what's going to happen in the future. That's their opinion, okay? Everybody has opinions, but just because it's an opinion doesn't mean it's the truth, okay? So don't let people like that prevent you from getting into prepping and prevent you from prepping for nuclear war and EMP, all right? Because just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it can't happen, all right? Just look at Pearl Harbor. All right, nobody expected Pearl Harbor to happen. Look at Hitler, okay? Nobody expected this crazy dictator to rise up from nowhere in Germany and suddenly take control of all of Europe and threaten the entire world, you know, and attack Russia and start sending U-boats into the Long Island Sound. Nobody expected that, okay? You know, so things can happen when you least expect it. And that, you know, I've done videos on this, you know, psychologically, you know, if you look at your life and you look back at your life, all the bad things that happen to you, they always happen when you're not ready for them, okay? They always happen when you're having a good day or you're not really like in a bad mood. You always have the, you know, when you get a flat tire, it's usually when you're on vacation or you're going somewhere that you're really excited about. You know, when bad things usually happen when you least expect it, not when you're ready for them, okay? And I think that an EMP and a nuclear war is a high likelihood, and I think a lot of people are going to be caught by surprise, especially preppers, because there's so many people right now that they call themselves preppers, but they're not true preppers. You know, they're only like partial preppers because they only prep for certain things like the election and civil war, okay? But a true prepper preps for everything, for societal collapse, for a total breakdown in society, for a nuclear war, for EMP. That's what a true prepper preps for. We don't just prep for elections, okay? And a couple of little riots. All right, big deal. There's a couple of riots that may happen. That's not a big deal. All right, I'm more concerned about China and Russia, all right, because China and Russia have been steadily building up their military arsenals. They've been growing their economy, especially China, and there's no sign of them slowing down. If anything, China continues to get stronger, and their economy continues to grow, their military continues to grow. China continues to add stealth bombers to their Air Force, stealth fighters, stealth bombers, submarines that can launch nuclear missiles. They're building up their ICBMs. They're building up their Navy. I mean, China is growing exponentially right now, and that's not a good sign, guys. I'm telling you, I don't care who the president is. And I know there's a lot of people out there that feel very passionately about Donald Trump, and they think he's the savior, and he's going to magically eliminate this threat from China. I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen, okay? Trump may temporarily slow down China maybe a little bit, but China is too powerful now. There's nothing that we can do, even if we have, you know, sanctions and a trade war and all these other things. There's nothing we can do to slow down the growth of China. And in the coming years, in the next 5, 10, 15 years, China is going to become a major superpower. I mean, they already are, but they're going to threaten our standing as the world superpower. And, you know, their economy is going to be better. Their military is going to be as big as ours. And we need to start prepping for that now while we still have time, okay? And if you watch my Prepping for Nuclear War series, which I'm going to continue on over the next few days, I'm going to add more videos to it. I talk a lot about how China, I believe that China is prepping for a nuclear attack on the U.S., okay? Same thing with Russia. And the reason why I believe that is I believe that China and Russia have always wanted global, you know, control. They want global communist order. They want a global communist society. All right. And the only way they can do that is to eliminate our nuclear deterrent and eliminate our military. Once they do that, they have free reign. They can do whatever they want. So if they were to attack us, they would go after our nuclear weapons and our critical military bases and try to decapitate our military and our nuclear deterrent all in one attack. And after they do that, they're not going to go after civilian targets because there's no benefit for them to do that. But once they do that, it'll give them free reign over the whole world, because now the military, the U.S. military, is not going to be there to stop them. All right? So you need to think about that. You need to get ready for that possibility. And also an EMP is another possibility. They could hit us with an EMP. I've talked about EMPs a lot. You know, there's EMPs on satellites right now as we speak. All right, Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, they have all put EMPs on satellites, and those EMPs can stay up in low Earth orbit for a long period of time. And at any time they could detonate those EMPs when they feel like it. And that should really be a concern to everybody, especially preppers. You know, and everybody's hyper focusing on pandemic and economic collapse and all these other things, you know, civil war, the election. These are all distractions, guys. They want you to spend all your time worrying about these things because they don't want you to see what's going on, okay? It's like a classic boxing technique where you want your opponent to focus on your jab, and you want to distract your opponent by throwing a lot of jabs. So that way when you come back with a right hand, with a cross or a hook or something, you're distracting them with the jab so they focus on the jab and they don't see the cross or the hook coming, okay? And that's what they're doing, in my opinion, right now. They want us to be divided over this election. They want us to focus on the election and, you know, Biden versus Trump and all this crap. And they want you to be focused on the pandemic and the second wave and economic collapse. You know, they want you to focus on all those things because what they don't want you to know about is the fact that Russia and China have been preparing for EMP and nuclear war for the last 10 to 20 years, okay? Vladimir Putin has added 10,000 bunkers in Moscow, okay? He's built up over 10,000 bunkers in Moscow. Why would he do that if he's not getting ready for something big? All right. Why did Russia build a huge bunker underneath a granite mountain in the Ural Mountains in Mount Yamantu? Okay, Mount Yamantu is a huge military base that's under a 5,000-foot mountain in the Ural Mountains in Russia, and it's believed to be able to house up to 200,000 people for, you know, an extended period of time. Okay, it's basically a doomsday bunker for the most powerful Russian people. Why would they suddenly be building that the last couple of years? Okay, why is China building up their military in an extreme level? Okay, why are they adding stealth bombers and stealth fighters and aircraft carriers, okay? They're not going to stop, guys. It's not going to slow down, okay? I don't give a crap what your favorite candidate tells you, what your favorite politician tells you. They're going to tell you that I have all the answers and we're going to stop China and we're going to do this and that. It's not going to do anything. That's all political rhetoric, okay? You need to take concrete steps to prepare yourself and prepare your family for what's coming down the road, okay? And what's coming down the road is a China that's going to have equal or better military capabilities than we are, a Russia that's going to have more nuclear weapons than we do, you know, a China that's going to be economically superior to America. How can we compete against that? Okay, how can we deal with something like that? And that's what's coming down the road. Okay, I'm not trying to scaremonger anybody, but I just don't want you guys to be caught off guard when all of a sudden next year or next month or 5 years from now, there's a grid down scenario and the power goes out and there's an EMP and there's no power for 6 months or a year, okay? I don't want you guys to wonder why that happened. And because I'm telling you guys, they don't want you, they want to label people like me as crazy and outliers and, you know, that we're scaremongering and fear-mongering. And that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to, you know, get you guys to think and think critically about what's going on, okay? China is exploding, all right? They're growing their military. They're growing their economy. I don't care what your favorite politician tells you. That's not going to change, all right? Unless there's some kind of major economic collapse in China, which I don't see happening, China's going to continue the trend that they've had over the last 10 years, and they're going to continue to grow and continue to get more powerful militarily and economically. And I'm telling you guys, in 5 to 10 years, it's going to be a lot different, okay? The balance of power in the world is going to be a whole lot different, okay? You know, right now we enjoy certain things like the most powerful Navy, like a powerful nuclear force, okay? But China is quickly catching up, and they can build things very rapidly. They have a lot of manpower. So we have to prepare ourselves for a world, you know, in which we may potentially get hit with an EMP or a nuclear attack. And, you know, I personally think an EMP is very, very likely, in my opinion. Sometime in the next couple of years, I think that we're going to get hit with an EMP, in my opinion. And it may not take out all the power in the whole United States, but it will take out a large portion of the power grid. And I think what would happen in that situation is that the authorities, the government, FEMA, the military, they would try to restore power to the big cities first and big towns. And I think that would take at least a couple of months, you know. So in those few months, you're going to have to deal with desperate people, hungry people, people that are not prepared, that are going to be kicking down your door to try to get your food. You know, we already saw during the wildfires, there was believe it or not, a deputy police officer from California somewhere that was ransacking people's houses during the wildfire, that people's, you know, homes that were evacuated, and that's an officer of the law. All right, imagine what regular people are going to do when they realize that the power's not coming back for 6 months and they only have a week's worth of food in their pantry. All right, because most Americans only have 2 weeks of food in their house. All right, so what are they going to do when the power goes out and they know that they don't have food and the grocery store's not coming back for 6 months? People are going to freak out, and they're going to, I'm telling you, they're going to kill each other for cans of beans, okay? It sounds crazy, but, you know, just look at how people behave now when people are in a rush to get to a Memorial Day weekend to get to their favorite camping spot. You know, people speed on the highway and cut each other off just to go on a camping trip. Okay, imagine, you know, after Hurricane Sandy here in New York State, people were fighting over gas, okay? So imagine what it's going to be like when the grid goes down for 6 months and people realize that they're not going to get food. All right, what are they going to do? They're going to take that food. They're going to obtain that food no matter how they can get it. And if you have supplies, you better believe that everybody you know is going to come to your house to see if you have it, okay? And I'll tell you one thing, you know, I'm not going to give away my food to people that are not prepared, okay? You have time to prepare now, and there's no excuse for not preparing, okay? And I'm not going to give my food away to people that were too cheap and too lazy to prepare when they had a chance, all right? So, you know, guys, please don't get distracted by this election and think about China and Russia in the long-term strategy that they have. All right, China and Russia is in it for the long haul. All right, they're trying to supersede America. Okay, they want to take control of the world, and I think an EMP is very likely. Okay, like I said, they have EMPs on satellites, and we're not going to retaliate. You know, the common thinking that people have, that people tell me on YouTube, a lot of in the comments section, people say, oh yeah, an EMP will never happen because we would just nuke whoever tries to EMP us. Well, guess what, guys? Those EMPs are on satellites, okay? How the hell are we going to know whose satellite that belongs to, okay? We are not going to know, all right? As soon as that EMP is detonated, we're not going to be able to figure out, okay, it was China's satellite or Russia's satellite. We're not going to know. So we can't just randomly start nuking people, you know? So an EMP is a very attractive way to attack the United States, because especially if it's on a satellite, because we're not going to be able to track who did it. All right, so because of that, it's a very attractive option for a lot of our enemies. Okay, and the EMP would do more damage than even a invasion of the U.S. You know, if they took our power grid down for 6 months, I mean, that's going to set us back a decade in terms of our economy. And, you know, we're going to have all kinds of problems. People are going to be killing each other for food. So, you know, you need to get prepared for that. You need to think about security, especially. If there's an EMP, guys, you got to think about security. Now's the time to practice with your firearms, practice your skills, get to know your local terrain. You know, really become intimately familiar with the area that you live and where you plan to survive SHTF. If there was an EMP attack, the area that you would plan to survive the EMP attack and long-term grid down situation, you need to become intimately familiar with that area, and you need to know everything about it. What kind of animals are there? Where are all the game trails? What are the avenues of approach? Where are the dead space areas? Okay, dead space is areas that you can't shoot your weapon into, okay? And you can't really see anything what's in there, okay? You know, where's the high ground? Where's the low ground? Where are the choke points? You need to think about all these things, okay? Do it now. You know, prepare yourself, build up a food supply, at least 3 to 6 months minimum food supply, okay? You need to have a good source of water, okay? You need to have a source of water that you could replenish your water from, okay? Whether it's a rainwater catchment system, or you live in a rural area like me and you have plenty of water that's clean and not polluted, okay? That's the ideal scenario, okay? You know, so, but another thing too is you want to think about relocating yourself to a better location, all right? When an EMP hits, you're not going to want to be in a large city, you know, and I know that I have a lot of friends of mine that are preppers and they live in big cities, and I'm not saying that you can't survive in a big city, but for the average person, surviving in a big city is going to be very, very difficult, okay? It's not going to be easy to do because you're not going to have a lot of resources. You're not going to have a lot of natural food that you can find, natural water supplies. All right, living in a city after an EMP is going to be difficult, okay? You know, living out in the country is going to be better, and you want to locate yourself a pretty long distance away from any kind of dense population areas, because the more people that you have near you, the more threats that there are. You know, if you live near a big city, all right, you better believe after the grid goes down, all those people are going to flood out to the countryside and they're going to try to get resources. Okay, not everybody's going to do it, but there's going to be a lot of desperate people that don't have food, and they're going to go out into the country because they feel that it's safer out there, and maybe they could find resources, or they could, you know, take it from somebody. Okay, so don't get distracted by this, you know, election and pandemic and all this other crap going on. It's just a smoke screen. Okay, the real threat is China and Russia and EMP, in my opinion. Okay, and also the plans for a global order, which I think China and Russia are going to be a part of that. They want to establish a new world order, a global communism, and in order to do that, they got to supersede America and have us below them. All right. So, you know, think about these things, guys. And I'm not trying to scare anybody. I just, you know, I'm really concerned about EMP and nuclear war and possible nuclear attack. And, you know, we're not ready for a nuclear attack. We don't have bunkers. We don't have people today to have no clue about how to protect themselves from fallout. 90% of Americans have no idea how to survive fallout radiation. Okay, those types of skills are lost in the 1960s and 70s, is when the U.S. government started phasing out all the bunkers and all the education, the public service announcements, and the free information about nuclear survival. That's all gone. But you should still educate yourself, and that's why I'm making that series, Prepping for Nuclear War. So I highly recommend you guys check that series out, and I'm going to continue with that series the next couple of days. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I'll keep you updated. And as always, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.